Montana, 1885. There are men who close a door so quietly that nobody notices it closing. Nathan Reed was that kind of man. He was 30 years old and the best carpenter in Willow Creek, perhaps in the whole of the Montana Valley, and everyone who needed something built came to him. Barns, bridges, porches, the schoolhouse roof that had been giving trouble since before anyone could remember. He showed up when he was needed, did the work with the precision of someone who believed that how you build a thing reflects who you are, and went home when it was done. He was respected by everyone, known by almost no one. 5 years ago, he had been a different man, a younger version who laughed easily and made plans and had a future with a shape to it. Her name was Clara. Clara Whitfield, 20 years old, with light brown hair and a laugh that arrived without warning, and a way of looking at him that made him feel like the best version of himself was the one standing beside her. They were to be married in the spring of 1880. The fever came in February. It moved through Willow Creek the way those fevers moved, fast and indiscriminate, and without interest in what it was interrupting. Clara was sick on a Tuesday. By Sunday, she was gone. Nathan had built her a hope chest that winter. Hand-joined oak, the corners fitted with the precision he put into everything, built to last 100 years. It was still in the corner of his cabin with a cloth over it. He had not opened it since the week she died. He had kept moving. He had kept building things. He had gotten very good at being useful and very deliberate about being alone. Then Grace Harper arrived in Willow Creek on a September morning with 2 trunks and a sewing machine, and the particular energy of a 19-year-old who has decided exactly what she is going to do with her life and is not going to be argued out of it. Nathan was fixing the hinge on the general store door when her wagon came down the main street. He looked up once. He looked back at the hinge. But something in him, something that had been very quiet for 5 years, noticed, and then went quiet again, but differently than before. Her name was Clara Whitfield, and she had loved Nathan Reed since they were 16 years old. Not in the way of young people who mistake intensity for permanence, in the way of 2 people who had grown up in the same town and had been for so long simply the other person's person that neither of them could remember a time before it. She was the daughter of the mill owner. He was the carpenter's apprentice. The match was considered inevitable by everyone who knew them. They had talked about the house. This was what Nathan remembered most in the years after. Not the grand moments, but the small ones. The Tuesday evenings on the porch of her father's house when they had talked about what he would build for them. 2 bedrooms to start, a south-facing kitchen for the light, a porch wide enough for 2 chairs and a long view. Clara had wanted a garden. Not a practical garden, she had said once, with the precision of someone who had thought about this. Not vegetables, flowers, things that don't have any use except being beautiful. Nathan had said he would build whatever she wanted. He had meant it completely. The winter of 1880 arrived with the fever. Clara got sick on a Tuesday morning, a headache first, then the heat that wouldn't break. By Thursday, she could not leave her bed. Nathan pulled his chair beside her and did not leave it. By Sunday, she was gone. She was 20 years old. He sat beside her for a long time after. The room was very quiet. The Montana winter was outside. He looked at her face, at the face he had been looking at since he was 16, and understood, with the finality of something that arrives all at once, that the future he had been building toward in his mind had just become a past. He went home and did not come out for 4 days. When he came out, he went back to work. He built a barn for the Henderson family that spring. Every joint precise, every board level, the whole structure solid and true. He built it the way a man builds something when he has nowhere else to put what he is carrying. He built it and went home and looked at the hope chest in the corner and thought about a garden of flowers with no practical use and lay awake until the Montana sky went from black to gray to the pale gold of another day that Clara was not in. 5 years is a long time to grieve and a short time to stop. Nathan had not stopped. He had learned to carry it differently, the way you carry something heavy, not by putting it down, but by adjusting how you hold it so you can keep moving. He was good at his work. He had always been good at it, but in the years after Clara, he had become something more. The kind of craftsman who understood that what you built outlasted you, and who put that understanding into every joint and beam. People came from 3 counties to hire it. He had a small cabin on the edge of Willow Creek, nothing remarkable from the outside, but inside it was the work of someone who knew what well-made things looked like. Every shelf level, every door hung true. The kitchen table solid enough to last 100 years. The hope chest was still in the corner. He had put a cloth over it in the second year, not to forget, to keep the dust off. He was not sure there was a difference. He did not go to social gatherings. He was not unkind. He was consistently generous with his time and his skill, but there was a quality to his presence that people recognized and respected. A door that was open for business and closed for everything else. Willow Creek had stopped trying to introduce him to Martha Greer at the general store, who had known him since before Clara, who had seen the before and the after, told people quietly that Nathan Reed was a good man, who had had something taken from him that a person doesn't replace. She said it with the practical accuracy of someone reporting a fact. People nodded. They hired him and left him alone. It seemed like enough. Nathan had told himself for 5 years that it was enough. He was not entirely sure he believed it, but the alternative required opening a door he had very deliberately closed. And some doors, once you understand what closing them cost you, feel impossible to open again. He had built enough things to know that a joint held together by fear rather than by fit would eventually fail. He had not examined whether that applied to doors as well as to wood. Grace Harper arrived in Willow Creek on a Wednesday in September with a plan. The plan was specific. Open a seamstress shop in the empty storefront next to the general store, establish herself before winter, build a clientele by spring. She had been doing alterations and commissions since she was 14, learned from her mother and grandmother, and she was 19 years old and entirely certain that Willow Creek was the right place, and this was the right time. She had the auburn hair of someone who turned heads without trying, and the directness of someone who had long since decided that was not her problem. She had been in town 3 days when she first needed Nathan Reed. A shelf bracket had come away from the wall, poorly installed, the previous tenant's work, and she needed it fixed before she could put her fabric bolts up. Martha Greer told her to ask Nathan. She found him at his workshop at the edge of town. He was at his bench, working a piece of oak into a door panel, and he looked up with the expression he had for new people. Polite, professionally present. "Miss?" he said. "Grace Harper," she said. "I've opened the seamstress shop next to the general store. I have a shelf bracket that needs attention." He looked at her for a moment. She looked back with the direct green eyes that had been looking at things directly since she was old enough to have opinions. "I can come by Thursday," he said. "Thursday works," she said. She looked around the workshop, at the tools arranged in order on the wall, at the workbench with its clean surface. "You built this yourself?" "Yes," he said. "It's very well made," she said, as an observation without decoration. He looked at the bench. "Thursday," he said again. She nodded and left. He looked at the piece of oak for a long time after she was gone. Then he picked up his plane and went back to work. He did not think about how she had looked at his workshop with the attention of someone who understood what well-made things looked like. He did not think about this at all. He thought about it for the rest of the afternoon. The shelf bracket took 20 minutes. Grace had coffee ready when he arrived and watched him work with the quiet attention of someone who paid attention to things generally. He fixed the bracket. He checked the other shelves while he was there, found 2 more that needed attention, and fixed those without being asked. She looked at the shelves. "You fixed the others." "They needed it," he said. "They would have come down eventually." She paid him less than the work was worth, thanked him, and he left. The following Tuesday, she came to the workshop. The door on the shop wouldn't latch properly. Could he look at it when he had time? He came by Wednesday. The door latch took 10 minutes. He adjusted the strike plate and tested it and found that the frame itself was slightly out of plumb. Not enough for immediate problems, but enough for future ones. He fixed that too. The following week, a window that wouldn't close completely. Then a floorboard that creaked. Then a shelf in the back room. Nathan fixed all of them. He began to notice that the things requiring his attention were spread at consistent intervals, 1 per week, always something small, always something that could theoretically have waited. He noticed this with the precision of a man who had been building things for 15 years and could tell the difference between a problem that needed immediate attention and one that had been saved. He did not say anything about it. He came when she asked, and fixed what needed fixing, and drank the coffee that was always ready, and had the conversations that accompanied the work, about the town, about her shop, about what she was reading, about the quality of the Montana autumn light, which she had opinions about. He had never talked about the Montana autumn light with anyone. He went home after each visit and looked at the hope chest in the corner and thought, "This is not what it looks like." And then thought, "I need to stop coming when she asks." And then thought, "The window frame on the east side of her shop is going to give her trouble by February if it isn't reinforced." I should mention that Thursday, he did not examine the order of those thoughts too closely. He had not dreamed about Clara in 2 years. In the first year after she died, he had dreamed about her almost every night. Not the fever, not the last days, but the before, the porch evenings, the conversations about the house, the way she laughed. He had woken from those dreams with the weight of someone who has been somewhere good and has been returned against their will. Gradually, the dreams had come less often. On a Thursday in October, the Thursday after he had fixed Grace's east window frame, Clara came to him in a dream. Not the way grief brings people back, anxious and unresolved. She came the way she had always come, easily, with that laugh just behind her eyes, sitting on the porch of the house they had planned and never built. She looked exactly as she had at 20. "Nathan," she said. "Clara," he said. She was looking at him with the expression she had when she was going to say something he needed to hear. "You're being very careful," she said. "I'm always careful," he said. "With wood, yes," she said. "With yourself, you're being careful the way you are when you're afraid something won't hold." He looked at the porch, the south-facing kitchen, the wide view. "She looks at you," Clara said, "the way I used to look at you." He said nothing. "Nathan." Her voice was the way it had always been, direct, warm, entirely without pretense. "The garden, the flowers with no practical use. I always wanted you to have that." "What do you mean?" he said. She smiled, the smile that had always arrived without warning and changed everything. "Not flowers, exactly. Something with no practical use. Something just because it's good." A pause. "You've been building things for other people for 5 years. Build something for yourself." "I don't know how anymore," he said. "Yes, you do," she said. "You've always known how. You just stopped believing you were allowed." He woke at 4 in the morning with the Montana dark around him. The hope chest was in the corner with the cloth over it. He looked at it for a long time. Then he got up and put the kettle on and sat at the kitchen table and thought about a garden of flowers with no practical use. And for the first time in 5 years, the thought did not hurt. It felt like something else. It felt like permission. October brought the Willow Creek Harvest Fair, the kind of gathering that small towns have been having since before anyone could remember. Commerce and community and the energy of people who have survived a hard season and decided to celebrate it. Booths and competitions and music and more food than was strictly necessary. Grace had a booth. She had spent 2 weeks preparing it, samples of her work on a small wooden rack that Nathan had built the previous Tuesday. Not because she had asked, but because he had seen her struggling with the display and had simply arrived the next morning with it. She had looked at the rack and then at him and said nothing, which was its own kind of sentence. Her booth was popular. 6 weeks in Willow Creek, and she had already built a clientele, partly because she was good at her work and partly because she was Grace. And people were drawn to her the way they were drawn to warmth. Nathan came to the fair to help with the livestock pens, which required repair before the animals arrived. A practical reason. He finished the pens at noon. He should have gone home. He was at the edge of the fairground when he saw it. Grace, surrounded by 4 young men competing for her attention with the determination of youth. She was handling it the way she handled everything. Warm, direct, completely in control. She laughed at something one of them said. The real laugh. Nathan looked at his hands. He walked to her booth. He did not know why. He was there before he had decided to be. She found him immediately, the green eyes finding him in the crowd. He looked at her. He looked at the young men. He felt something he recognized but had not felt in 5 years and had not expected to feel again. He smiled, the half smile he used when he was feeling something he wasn't going to say. You're going to break a lot of hearts, he said. He meant it as an observation, as a way of saying something that wasn't the thing he was actually thinking. Grace looked at him. The young men were still there, but she was looking only at him. She was quiet for a moment, the quiet of someone choosing words with care. Then she smiled. Not the laugh, the other smile, quieter, meaning more. I only wanted to mend yours, she said, looking directly at him. And then she turned and went back to her booth and helped a woman with a piece of lace. Nathan stood at the edge of the fairground with 4 young men who were also standing there, and all of them were thinking about the same thing, and only Nathan understood what she had actually said. He stood there for a long time. Then he went home. He did not sleep. I want to stop here for just a moment, because this is the moment I always come back to. Not the grand declarations. This one. A woman who has been paying attention for 6 weeks says the most honest thing she's ever said to anyone, and the man she says it to stands there like someone who has just been handed something he thought no longer existed, and doesn't know if he's allowed to hold it. This is the second story on this channel. If you like stories like this, subscribe and leave a like to help the channel grow. Leave a comment. What country are you listening from today? I like knowing these stories travel to every corner of the world. Now let's get back, because Nathan Reed is about to make the worst decision of his life. He went home after the fair and sat at the kitchen table for a long time. The hope chest was in the corner. He had not opened it in 5 years. He looked at it now, at the cloth, at the shape underneath, at the thing he had built for a future that had not happened. He thought about what Grace had said. I only wanted to mend yours. He thought about what it would cost to let it mean what it meant, about what happens when you let something matter and then lose it. He had paid that cost once. He knew exactly what it felt like. And the knowing was not a memory, it was a physical thing, a weight in his chest that he had learned to walk around but had never put down. He thought about Clara, about the dream, about you just stopped believing you were allowed. He thought about Grace at the fair, with the green eyes that found him in a crowd. He thought, I know what a sound foundation looks like, and I know what this is. And then he thought, That is exactly why I cannot do this. He sat at the kitchen table for 3 hours. Then he got up and began quietly and systematically to pack. He had been offered work in Billings in August, a hotel commission, more money than 2 years in Willow Creek. He had turned it down because he hadn't wanted to leave. He would write tonight. He would be gone before winter. He would leave because Grace Harper was 19 years old and deserved a man who could give her everything without the weight he was carrying down. He would leave because staying required opening a door he was not sure he survived opening again. He packed carefully and methodically, the way he did everything. He left the hope chest. He sat at the desk and started the letter to Billings. He wrote 3 sentences. Then he stopped. He looked at the hope chest. He thought about the dream, Clara's voice. "You've always known how. You just stopped believing you were allowed." He put the pen down. He picked it up again. He wrote the rest of the letter. He sealed it. He set it on the desk to send in the morning. Then he went to bed and lay in the dark and listened to the Montana wind and told himself this was the right thing. He said it enough times that it almost felt true. It felt like the right thing, the way that closing a door always feels like the right thing, until you're standing on the wrong side of it. He left on a Tuesday morning before most of Willow Creek was awake. He told no one except Martha Greer, who he paid for supplies, and who looked at him with the expression of a woman who has been watching a situation develop and finds the resolution inadequate. "Billings," she said. "Work," he said. Martha said. Grace found out on Wednesday when she came to the workshop and found it closed. She asked Martha. Martha told her. Grace went home. She did not tell anyone what she felt. She went home and sat at her work table and worked on an alteration that needed finishing and was very precise about the stitching. On Thursday, she went to the workshop because Martha had a key and Martha thought she should see. On the workbench, precisely placed, was a small wooden box joined at the corners with Nathan's signature precision. Inside the box was a small carved flower. A flower with no practical use. Just beautiful. No note. Grace held the carved flower for a long time. The workshop smelled of oak and sawdust, the smell she had been finding reasons to be near for 6 weeks. She turned the flower in her hands. He had carved it carefully, with the same attention he gave everything, every petal precise. He had left it without a note and gone to Billings. She did not know if that was a goodbye or the beginning of something he didn't yet know how to finish. She put the flower in the pocket of her dress. She went back to work. She was 19 years old, and she had said the truest thing she had ever said to another person, and he had left anyway. And the not knowing was the hardest part. Harder than the leaving, almost. Billings was larger than Willow Creek. The hotel commission was real, and the work was good, and Nathan threw himself into it with the focus of a man who needs not to think about something specific. He worked 12 hours a day. The hotel took shape, solid, well-made, every joint precise. He was fine. He was not fine. He woke at 3 in the morning on the second week with the Billings dark around him and lay in the unfamiliar bed and thought about a carved flower with no note and whether she had found it and what she had thought. He thought about the hope chest he had left in the cabin. He thought about Clara's dream. You just stopped believing you were allowed. He thought about what it meant that he had carved a flower, an object with no practical use, just beautiful. Exactly what Clara had always wanted him to have, and had left it without the words that should have gone with it. Like a man who had almost said something and lost his nerve at the last moment and run. He sat up in the Billings dark. He thought about everything he had built in his life, every barn, every bridge, every cabinet. He had built all of it for other people because he had stopped believing he was allowed to build anything for himself. He thought about Grace at her work table, precise and quiet, not performing her feelings for anyone,
He thought about what kind of man leaves a flower and a silence and calls it enough.
He got up. He lit the lantern. He sat at the small desk and wrote to the hotel owner, explaining that a matter required him to return to Willow Creek and that he would send recommendation for another carpenter. He wrote it carefully and honestly. Then he packed his bag and paid for the room and saddled his horse in the gray Billings morning. He rode for 2 days. He thought the whole time about what he was going to say. He thought about Clara and about permission and about flowers with no practical use. He thought about a woman who had said the truest thing and deserved more than a carved flower and a silence. He rode faster. The Montana Valley opened up ahead of him, the mountains, the sky, the particular light on the grass that Grace had opinions about. And he felt something in his chest that he recognized. The same thing he had felt when he was 25 and riding toward a life he was building with someone. He had not felt it since. He rode toward it. He arrived in Willow Creek on a Thursday afternoon. He rode down the main street and tied his horse outside the general store and went inside. Martha Greer looked up. She looked at him for a long moment. "You came back," she said. "Yes," he said. She said. This time the meant something different, something closer to about time. "She's at the shop," Martha said before he asked. He nodded. He walked to the seamstress shop. The door opened, the latch he had fixed in October still working. The bell above the door rang. Grace was at her work table with her back to him, working on a piece of fabric with the focused precision of someone who has been very deliberate about staying focused. "Just a moment," she said. Then she heard the silence, the specific quality of a silence that is different from the usual, and turned. She looked at him. He was standing in the doorway with his hat in his hands and 3 weeks of riding and thinking on his face. The Montana afternoon light came through the windows he had fixed. Neither of them said anything for a long moment. Then she stood up, not performing composure, actually composed, with the stillness of someone who has spent 3 weeks deciding how she would feel if this happened and has arrived at an answer. "Nathan," she said. "I left a flower," he said, which was not what he had planned to say first. "I found it," she said. "I should have left a note," he said. "I should have..." He stopped, started again. "I left because I was afraid, not of you, of what it meant, of what happens when you let something matter and then lose it." He looked at his hat. "I lost someone 5 years ago. Her name was Clara, and I loved her, and she died, and I built a door, and I closed it, and told myself that was the right thing." "I know," Grace said quietly. "Martha told me some. The rest I figured out." "I carved you a flower," he said. "A flower with no practical use, and I left without a note because I got scared at the last moment and ran." He looked up at her. "I'm not afraid anymore. Or I am, but I'm done letting it decide for me." She crossed the room with the deliberate certainty of someone who has made a decision and is living inside it. She stopped in front of him. "I'm not trying to replace her," she said. "I'm not trying to make you forget her. She was real and she mattered, and she always will." Her voice was steady, her eyes were bright. "I just want to be here, if you'll let me." Nathan looked at this 19-year-old woman standing in front of him with the truth in her eyes, and felt something in him, something that had been very closed for a very long time. Open. Not all the way, not at once, but open. He reached out and took her hand. She looked at his hand holding hers. Then she looked up at him. And she cried. Quietly. Completely. The way you cry when something you had given up on turns out to still be true. He held her hand and said nothing because there was nothing to say that was better than what was already happening. He took her to see the Hope Chest on a Sunday afternoon. He had not opened it in 5 years. He had covered it and lived around it, the way you live around something you are not yet ready to face. Grace sat beside him on the cabin floor in front of it. He lifted the cloth. The chest was exactly what it was, a hope chest, built by a young man for the woman he was going to marry. The joints tight, the wood smooth, made to last. He opened it. Inside, a quilt Clara's mother had started for the wedding. A small Bible with Clara's name in her handwriting. A pressed wildflower, dried now, fragile, that she had put there herself the autumn before she died. And at the bottom, a folded piece of paper, Clara's handwriting. He had never been able to open it. His hands were not entirely steady. Grace put her hand over his. He opened the paper. It was a list of things she wanted for the house they had planned. The south-facing kitchen, the wide porch, and at the bottom, underlined twice, a garden. Not practical, just flowers, just beautiful things. Nathan looked at the list for a long time. Then he folded it carefully and held it. Grace sat beside him on the cabin floor and said nothing and did not need to. After a while, he said, "She would have liked you." Grace looked at him. "I think I would have liked her," she said. He nodded. He put the list back in the chest, not as something to hide from, but as something to keep, a record of what had been real. "I'm going to build a garden," he said. "Not practical, just flowers." He looked at Grace. "If you'll help me decide which ones." She looked at him with the green eyes that had been paying attention since September. "Yes," she said, simply, completely. The same way she said everything that mattered. They were married in the spring. Not a large wedding. Nathan was not a man for large gatherings. And Grace had decided the most important part was the part where they said the words. They said them in the Willow Creek church on a Saturday in April with the whole town present because the whole town had been invested in this outcome for months. Martha Greer cried in the front row with the satisfaction of a woman whose conclusions had been correct all along. Nathan built the house that summer. Not the house he had planned with Clara, something new, something that was theirs. South-facing kitchen for the light, wide porch with room for 2 chairs and a long view. And along the east side, a garden. Not practical, just flowers, planted by Grace in May and tended all summer with the care she brought to everything. In the corner of the bedroom, the hope chest, not covered. Present, the way things that were real and mattered should be present. Their first child arrived the following spring, a girl they named Clara Rose, which Grace had suggested and Nathan had received with the expression of a man given a gift he does not know how to deserve. Their second child came 2 years later, a boy named William, after Nathan's father. The years went by the way good years do, steadily, with work and seasons and the accumulation of a life built deliberately. Nathan built things. Grace sowed things. The garden grew every spring and came back every year more established than before. On an evening in their 23rd year together, Nathan, 53, Grace, 42, Clara Rose, grown and gone to Helena, William apprenticed to a carpenter Nathan had personally vouched for. They sat on the porch in the 2 chairs in front of the long view and watched the Montana evening do what Montana evenings do. Nathan looked at the garden, at the flowers that had no practical use and were just beautiful. He looked at Grace beside him, the auburn hair going silver at the temples, the hands that had been working since before he knew her. She felt him looking and turned. "What?" she said. "Nothing," he said. "I'm just looking." She went back to the evening. He went back to looking. He thought about a Wednesday in September when a woman with green eyes had arrived in Willow Creek with 2 trunks and a sewing machine. He thought about a carved flower left without a note. He thought about a girl of 20 who had loved him and died, and had come to him in a dream to give him the only permission he had ever needed. He thought about what it meant to have built something that lasted. Not a barn, not a bridge. This. Grace, he said. She looked at him. He didn't say anything else. He didn't need to. She took his hand. The Montana evening held them both.
Nathan Reed built a hope chest for a woman he was going to marry. She died before they could fill it. He put a cloth over it and lived around it for 5 years, not forgetting, never forgetting, but learning to move through a world that had Clara in the past and nothing in the future.
Then a 19-year-old woman arrived with a sewing machine and a plan and started finding reasons to visit a carpenter's workshop and said the truest thing she had ever said to anyone standing in a fairground in October. "I only wanted to mend yours." And he left a carved flower on a workbench and ran. I think about Nathan in those 3 weeks in Billings, about what it costs to have loved someone completely and lost them. And then to find yourself standing in front of someone who makes the world feel different again. And to be so afraid of losing again that you almost choose the loss yourself. The bravest thing Nathan Reed ever built was not a barn or a bridge. It was the decision to ride back, to walk into a seamstress shop and stand in the doorway with his hat in his hands and say, "I was afraid. I'm done being afraid."
And Clara, who had loved him at 16 and died at 20 and come to him in a dream to say he was allowed, Clara was right. He had always known how. He just needed permission.
We all carry something we've covered with a cloth. We all have a hope chest in the corner. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, someone arrives who is worth uncovering it for. Don't run to Billings. Ride back. May God bless each and every one of you who listened today. Until next time.